In the last almost a week, we spoke about the data flow, couple of videos, and then we looked at 3 or 4 examples. Now we need to move beyond that to the lawful basis of processing the information. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you regularly see new content on data privacy, and we are going to talk about lawful basis today in this video. So why does this transition matter? This transition matters because we need to definitely move ahead from just thinking and letting the data be in to actually processing it. Purpose is processing. Organizations generally think that just get consent, move on, look at the consent, move on and look at legal obligations also, and that's it. Decisions are made without any visibility. Examples show data behaves differently in reality. We all guess, we all collect on some basis, but the data works the way the data needs to work. One size fits all, no, that is not a correct basis. This basis does not work. Wrong basis creates a long term compliance risk, right? Because sooner or later you will be audited and you need to explain why did you process a particular data, particular personal information. Now you can say that is answered by the purpose, good, but the DPDP Act provides a lot of lawful basis that you don't need to wait for consents. One should use them and should have it documented as to what was the reason this particular lawful basis was used. Perhaps we should also document why did we take consent and not use the lawful basis, right? Visibility must come across all the decisions and before taking the decisions. It is good to document also before taking the decisions instead of doing it after making the decisions. Data enters earlier than expected, so you have to set your plans of processing or consent or your basis decisions very quickly. Multiple teams access same data. We have been talking about this very regularly. Internal external sharing is common, has to happen any type of organization, right? Marketing is accessing phone numbers and email IDs. Customer wants to talk to a salesperson. He gets his address as well, shares address with logistics, with service to get it delivered and installed. Then with the support system, the finance gets involved, or rather the billing gets involved for the billing, and finance gets involved for payment collection, right? So just one small transaction gets across the organization. It happens for most of the transactions, if not all, but each transaction or type of transaction has the potential to touch at least 2 to 3 departments and data getting shared, right? Even HR, you'll share it with your finance consultant for tax, you'll share it with your PF consultant for provident fund. Retention is rarely planned upfront. Consent is often assumed by default, right? Consent is an assumption, which is an incorrect thing. Backups quietly expand the scope. Why backups expand the scope? Because now you are making copies and keeping them at separate places. So your scope of protecting the personal information collected increases. Guessing the basis does not work. There has to be a proper basis. Whether it depends on how you are going to handle it. So it actually depends on the usage of data. Assumptions replace the evidence. Consent gets overused unnecessarily. People start assuming that I've taken the consent so I can use it the way I want to. And they may not even realize that the consent was taken for one purpose, not all purposes. Therefore, they miss out the obligations, compliance and legal ones also, and service related processing gets misclassified. It cannot be assumed that because I am selling a product with warranty, data will be there with the service team. Service team will share it with their external support people if required, if they have that way. Hell, why is it not in the privacy notice or at the time of taking consent itself? Corrections later are obviously costly and disruptive. Privacy by design was created for the same. One should always try and follow them. Right. So if you have clear visibility on your processes, you get correct choices. Purpose becomes clear at the time of collection itself. Processing activities become distinguishable. Sharing boundaries becomes visible. Retention can be purpose linked, right? Retention does not need to be staying away from the purpose. Lawful basis becomes contextual, and DPDP decisions become defensible. They can defend the DPDP decisions. Practically, you should map what data you have, how is it flowing, something that we did in the last 4 or 5 days. Understand why that data is being used, identify who is processing that information, choose the correct lawful basis and draft it or document it then and there before you get into a confusion or a debatable discussion later on. Design your consents and notices, and finally, implement the retention policies and security safeguards. Very important aspects of maintaining privacy for the PIIs that you collect. So that's about moving on to lawful basis. We are going to talk about the difference between the consent and other obligations in the next video. Stay tuned, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.